You probably drive over these every day without thinking about the flood protection beneath your wheels. But these pieces of concrete do a lot more than move water. The production of each one of these box culverts puts 60 people to work. And that's just one piece of the larger economic impact that flood control projects have on our community. Major flood projects may start with a little water and cement, but they're a concrete commitment to local jobs and protection for our economy. This is Rinker Materials in Henderson. 60 people work here making underground box culverts and pipes.
Today we are pouring a 12x6 box culvert that is for the Rancho Fort Apache project that's currently ongoing. We're currently shipping product to the job, and it is being installed, and we are also in production of it. It requires reinforcement on the inside of the box, so we have a caging department that constructs the cages per the submittal that we submit to the agencies. Then you have a batching process where we batch the dry cast concrete mix, and from there it's conveyed into our buildings, into our machines, and poured into a form. The form is stripped, and the process is repeated, and we pour several pieces in a day. They'll sit overnight, and the next day they can be removed from the building and delivered out into our yard, where they'll cure for a minimum of 7 days before they can be shipped to the job site.
Engineers, drafters, surveyors, right-of-way agents, appraisers, laborers, equipment operators, and material suppliers are just some of the jobs behind each project. And the biggest project right now is the Desert Rose Golf Course.
We've had 60 that have not saying they touched the job. No, these are people that have put a substantial amount of time on the project. So this varies from our public outreach effort, our drafters, our engineer designers, our structural designers, some of the environmental permitting that we had to do. All that was done by the staff in here.
We're funded by 1/4% sales tax. We take those resources and we use them to design, construct, and maintain flood control projects. We did some analysis and found that for about every $84,000 that we spend at the flood control district, we create or sustain one job in the community. And so right now, the first week of October, we have about $120 million under construction right now, which would equate to about 1,428 jobs.
It's a good sign to see so many projects underway again. Not too long ago, construction all but disappeared.
And when the market was at its peak, 11.5% of our workforce was working in construction. That is 3 times the national average. During the economic recession, roughly 1 out of every 5 private sector employees lost their jobs. In the construction industry, that's 2 out of every 3 that lost their jobs. That is a massive decline. When we take a look at the federal stimulus program and the monies that were dedicated toward capital projects, and we look at the fact that people like the RTC and flood control, and frankly even people like the school district, took the capital dollars that they had and tried really hard to push those out. And they tried to accelerate the timeline on some of those projects, largely so they could get folks back to work.
The fact that we were our own economic engine in the world's worst recession ever. And we did it, and we put people to work, and we continued to protect people and property as a regional flood control district.
Construction made up 12% of the local workforce in the early 2000s. Even as the economy improves, the tough times remain fresh in mind.
It did slow down, but we were able to, because of the public works projects, we were able to maintain a crew working and continue operating. So we were able to get through it, but it was a slowdown for sure.
After this recession, where we have had not months, but years of double-digit unemployment, I'm talking like 80% in some crafts, that work is critical that it be done, because it's helping not just those workers, but it's helping our local economy, because those workers are spending their paychecks in this community, and the money circulates back in the community and makes our economy better. And this recession has been like none we've ever seen, where construction was like the second largest industry, 4 years ago, and then it literally went off the list. And so that work that you all are doing is critical to helping our economy.
It's just a great feeling. We know we're building these facilities that not only benefit people as far as reducing their flood threat and protecting them from flood waters, but it also is providing these jobs. It's providing money into the local economy. We're using contractors and engineers that live here locally. They don't come in from out of state typically and build these facilities. So it's money being invested right back into the community. So it's just a great thing.
Las Vegas Paving has 950 employees in Clark County. They're roughly back to 70% of the workforce they had prior to the recession.
And right now it's picking up again. 2013 was a little bit of a challenging year for us, but it's come back. We've added close to 80 employees since the first of the year. A lot of it because of this particular project, but there's a lot of other projects moving forward as well.
At the heart of the Desert Rose Golf Course project, 300 construction workers were on the site each day, each one of them in a prevailing wage job and earning union benefits.
And that's what's great about what you all are doing. I mean, those box culverts are made by a local firm here, has local workers who pay decent wages and decent benefits, and they can't afford to buy a house, and they can't afford to buy a car, and they can't afford to buy a refrigerator. And so everybody prospers when it's like that. I think our best days are coming, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It's not another train coming. It's a way out, and I think we're on our way out of this.
That's important at Rinker, where multiple generations are employed.
My dad's worked here over, don't quote me, I think it's 35 years plus. So this plant has provided for me my entire life, pretty much. So I've been working here 15 years myself. So I was born and raised here in Nevada. I've seen the early days when flooding, was all over the news every time it rained, and throughout the years, as we've invested in the infrastructure, it's become a better situation. Work still needs to be done, and it's being done currently, but it does give you some satisfaction to know that these products are helping the public.
The hundreds working on flood control projects from design to materials and construction are actually just a small piece of the flood control district's economic impact.
You're talking about billions of dollars of economic impact every single year as a result of those facilities. You build a roadway and we think about it, okay, that roadway's there. But all the commerce, all the freight, everybody that takes their kids to school, everybody that goes to work or goes to the grocery store wouldn't happen without that. That's so visual because we use it every single day. We don't think the same way about a flood control facility, right? It's sort of on the side, it's over there, it's that thing that's over there, that big hole or that big pipe that they're putting in the ground or something, right, or it's under the ground, something along those lines. So we don't see it, it's not as visual, but incredibly important. I remember being a kid and being at the Boulevard Mall with my mother, and water was coming into the mall, and I remember walking outside and seeing a VW bug float down the street. My kids will probably never have that experience, and that's because we've been incredibly thoughtful in terms of doing that. Our economy here is a $100 billion economy, right? How much of that is being protected by those type of facilities? I'd argue all of it.
Now that you've seen the box culverts being made, let's talk to an engineer about how they work.
In a typical linear facility, such as a wash or a channel, we often have to cross roadways. So we use a multiple reinforced concrete box culvert in many cases to convey the peak flow. Typically, our design flow is used as the criteria for which we size the box culverts.
What is all this stuff? Doesn't a culvert just takes the water from one side of the road to the other? Somebody get this man a dictionary app.
See that clogged storm drain? Something like that, when it rains, will cause water to back up and flood our streets. Hello, Regional Flood Control District. I'd like to report a clogged storm drain. city and county employees are working hard to keep your storm drains clean. If you spot a clogged storm drain, call and report it.
Help protect the environment by keeping our drains and washes clean. Report clogged storm drains by calling 685-0000.
From here at the factory to out in the field, flood control projects are making our communities safer. And this summer's storms proved that the work at the Desert Rose Golf Course are already paying off. Work began here at Desert Rose about a year ago, and already residents are noticing a big difference. Homes that flooded badly 2 years ago remained dry this summer when comparable storms hit the valley. At a recent public meeting, residents even cheered for the contractor.
During this summer, the channel was still under construction, but yet it was fully excavated by the time the storms came, and it had the appropriate capacity to handle the storm flows. We did incur some damage due to erosion because the channel wasn't 100% completed, but yet it had all the capacity needed to pass the flows through and offered an incredible amount of protection for the residents.
By the third meeting, I have to tell you that people were engaged. I formed a stakeholders committee, which had been a recommendation at the first meeting. They've been wonderful. They're made up of golfers, longtime golfers, as well as residents from there. They have advised both the property manager. They know Las Vegas Paving. They know Billy Wellman. They can track them down if they need them. They know Ken. The golf course design team, now the new architect that we selected for the clubhouse. It's just been a really team effort because we're doing a project, as we tried to explain, between the city, the county. There's sewer issues in addition to the flood control issues going on. So to kind of get that group all working together has just been tremendous. And I think the neighbors saw that collaboration and have been very supportive since that time.
The project manager for the Desert Rose work has 28 years of experience in public projects, but has never been involved in something with this scope or size.
Doing a numerous amount of flood control projects, this is kind of one of the ones that you actually know that you affect people's lives. You actually see it. You saw the floods they had in 12, and that you're actually seeing the impact, meeting them in the public meeting, actually meeting these residents. It's a great feeling that you're actually seeing the immediate impact. Most flood projects affect people's lives, but you don't see it as readily as you do on this one.
Next, workers will finish the golf course, construct a clubhouse, and take the flood control component further north.
We are getting ready to start what we call the fourth reach, which is the north reach, which is a typical flood control channel project that starts at the north reach of the golf course, goes up through the city of Las Vegas, and ends roughly around Bonanza.
It's a big channel, 100+ foot wide, 20-foot high walls to help carry these stormwaters through here. All of the areas that are in the flood zone are not out of the flood zone now because there is potential for flooding upstream at Charleston and also Stewart crossings.
This project has been a massive team effort. The design finished in just 1 year, and crews have been constructing the plans for just over a year.
It was a great team effort. I mean, we had a lot of team people at the Flood Control District. We've had a lot of support from the county, the city of Las Vegas, the Commissioner G's office, Parks and Recs. This was a total team.
The clubhouse project is being funded by the county, and when it's finished, it will be a community center for neighborhood events as well as serving the golfers.
The clubhouse will be wonderful. It's not huge, but we'll have a golf pro shop. They'll be able to have, if they want to, as a neighborhood, have a banquet or a wedding. We're setting it up so there's an outdoor patio area. There'll be barbecues for them to use. So it's more of a community-based center after the clubhouse is closed. But they can do little events if they want to. I think it's a good asset in the long run.
That's good news for golfers, but the best news will come when residents are removed from the flood zone.
So once the project is completed and we have the as-built drawings or the certification that the project was built in accordance with the design drawings that we submitted to FEMA, then we will go ahead and prepare a package and send that into FEMA called the Letter of Map Revision. They will review that, and once they finish reviewing it, and as long as they are confident that we built it in conformance with the drawings and what we submitted for the conditional letter of map, then they will remove the properties from the flood zone. And when we get that, we'll probably send out some notifications to the homeowners.
I think what I'm looking forward to is when they all get their letter and from the flood control, when the flood control district sends out the cards and basically says you're not in the flood zone, you don't have to pay flood insurance anymore or out of the flood zone, I think that will be like the job's done. Until that point, we're not done yet.
I'm Agent Smith.
And I'm Agent Jones.
We're busting people who pollute Clark County.
Uh-oh.
Sir, your dog left a little gift for us.
He did?
Sir, pet waste can wash off lawns down storm drains untreated into Lake Mead.
Oh.
Sir, when Fido leaves a gift, do your duty. Scoop it and toss it.
Oh, okay.
Do something positive.
Don't trash Clark County. It's our home, too.
We all have to do our part to help keep trash out of storm drains. And recently, volunteers at the 25th Las Vegas Wash Greenup rolled up their sleeves to help make Las Vegas a little bit greener.
See, some of them you need to roll on the ground, just loosen up the sides. You'll fill it, and then over the hole, just dump it upside down. Like 5 minutes. And then what you do is just take the root ball just a little bit and loosen it up. Don't squeeze it too hard or it'll pop off in your hand. Pick up your flag and your bucket, and we'll collect all this and bring it back up here.
Over the past 12 years, the Southern Nevada Water Authority has worked to green up areas along the Las Vegas Wash. Hundreds of volunteers came to the most recent event to help keep the desert green by planting drought-resistant native species.
Really involves the community in our project. The Las Vegas Wash Stabilization Project is so important to the valley, protecting our water quality in Lake Mead, keeping the channel full of wetland vegetation is great habitat for birds and other wildlife, and really making sure to protect that downstream water quality that we all rely on so much. And so to involve the community in it, to get community buy-off, to have families all coming together and community groups participating really gives them hands-on ownership in what we're doing here, gives us the buy-in that we need, and also they can come back from years from now and see all the great habitat they've been able to build for the animals, see the beauty that they've been able to add to the wetlands park, and feel that pride of place here in Southern Nevada for creating a natural space that, you know, we don't have too many of out here.
The Flood Control District is a partner in the Las Vegas Stormwater Quality Management Committee. Local government agencies work together to keep our source of drinking water clean.
Every drop of water essentially that lands in the Las Vegas Valley will eventually end up in Lake Mead. Through our channels, to our storm drains, it runs off on the roads from your house into the street, and eventually all ends up into, usually it'll end up into one of our regional facilities, and then on its way down and eventually hit Las Vegas Wash and then get to Lake Mead. The Las Vegas Wash collects all of the water from the valley. And over the years, you know, as Las Vegas Valley has developed, more and more water, surface water, urban runoff, storm water, reclaimed water, all get to Las Vegas Wash. And over the years, that was eroding out the wash.
But the green up helps stop erosion and provides an amazing habitat for birds and other animals.
The transformation is truly astounding. Since I started, which was the year actually that we had our very first green up, to now we've constructed 16 erosion control structures. These structures create awesome platforms for coming in and doing native plant revegetation. So really, in that time, we have taken 400 acres that had been covered with invasive plant species like salt cedar, and we've transformed them to native habitats, wetland habitats, upland habitats, riparian habitats, really diversifying that habitat that we have out here, and not only creating a really important home for wildlife, since it's the desert. You bring water to the desert, what's going to come? Life. And when we don't need just plant life, we want wildlife too, and we're bringing that in. But it also really enhances the aesthetic beauty of the area. And what's important is Las Vegas Wash runs through the 2,900-acre Clark County Wetlands Park. And so we want to make that area more beautiful so that more of our residents want to come and enjoy it, and then we'll learn to better respect and appreciate this valuable environmental resource.
Debbie Van Dormelen studies birds and is seeing some amazing species fly in.
But we have just around the corner, just right next to our planting site today, we have great blue herons out there right now. We have double-crested cormorants. We have a variety of species of waterfowl. There was an osprey, or otherwise known as a fish eagle, actually out hunting there earlier. And so it just goes to show that we're not only creating this habitat, that it is ultimately being used as well. We were on aquatic bird count. It's an aquatic bird species. It was out on a sandbar. I had never seen one before, but I noticed this cute little bird flipping over rocks and looked it up, and sure enough, it was a ruddy turnstone that was out there turning stones, and it was pretty great. And that was just less than a mile upstream from here.
And I came along. This was my first time participating in something like this, and I actually found it very enjoyable. Aside from some scraped knees, I actually feel exhilarated, and the camaraderie here is wonderful. The different organizations, you had the park rangers here, you had the Department of Transportation. It was a wonderful experience all in all.
I learned so much at the tents. I learned all about this. I should have known before, but you know, it's the first time for everything.
Local garden clubs joined with students from elementary school through colleges to plant at the event.
I learned about different types of plants, science.
In addition to planting and lunch, volunteers got to visit a green expo and meet Smokey the Bear and Mojave Max.
Yeah, it was cool. I get to take pictures of him with the state tortoise.
A full schedule of volunteer opportunities can be found online at lvwash.org. Everything the volunteers planted at the 25th Green Up is already taking root to create wetland areas.
The wetlands is a beautiful place. Many people don't even know exists in Las Vegas. I mean, they just think it's very dry, it never rains, but they don't realize that all the water that runs off every day from the valley and gets into the wash, that we can support a wetlands out there, and that creates these beautiful habitats for wildlife and reduces the pollutants as they settle out. The plants can absorb the fertilizers and other contaminants that are on their way to Lake Mead. So it's amazing that we can have such a beautiful oasis in the desert with the water that we have falling every day from and running off from the valley.
It's just amazing because it shows the durability of the project. It shows the appeal of the project to the community and shows the level of involvement the community has with this project and how invested both sides are, how invested we are in having them come out and help us and how invested they are in coming out and making sure this project is a reality and that this resource is protected for their kids and for the next generation.
The Las Vegas Wash carried quite a bit of stormwater into Lake Mead this monsoon season, and 2 major floods caused substantial damage in some areas. In 2014, the National Weather Service issued 2 flash flood emergencies in Clark County. The first was in July for the Rainbow Canyon subdivision on Mount Charleston. The second was September 8th in Moapa and Overton.
The Moapa area experienced severe flooding on September 8th. We had training storms that went right over the area and dropped as much as 4.5 inches of rain over areas that normally receive not much more than that in the year.
Flooding wiped out a portion of the I-15, shutting down the major interstate for days and causing at least $5 million in damages. 91 homes were damaged in Moapa, Logandale, and Overton, largely as a result of flooding from the Muddy River. The flooding led to a federal disaster declaration, and FEMA aid is available to homeowners.
A lot of earthen levees, that 4 of which were breached during the event. So there was an immediate sense of urgency. There were a lot of evacuations that went on locally. And again, that water all eventually ran downstream to Overton, where more evacuations were required.
Back in July, floodwater running off of Mount Charleston nearly killed a couple from Arizona driving on the 95. Luckily, quick-thinking servicemen from Creech Air Force Base went into action and pulled the elderly couple to safety. Mount Charleston was also hit hard that day as large amounts of water and mud washed out roads and damaged some homes. In all, 13 homes were damaged, causing more than $1 million in losses.
Water is an impressive force. When you have water flowing across a road, it can pick up a car and move it. 6 inches of fast-moving water can do that. There's a big difference between standing water and moving water. And I'd like to say, you know, the amount of water it takes to cause, the amount of rain it takes to cause that kind of flooding here is very small. You get an inch of rain in Nebraska, you have happy corn. When you get an inch of rain in Nevada, we have swiftwater rescues and people being washed away down highways and unfortunately down flood control channels if people don't stay out of them. But it's an incredible force of nature, and nothing can invoke fear in me as a meteorologist more than rushing water, because you can't escape it once you're in it.
This year, the Regional Flood Control District worked to help keep residents informed about the dangers of monsoon season, starting with a press conference highlighting flash flooding and construction projects to help reduce the risk. The district also communicated during flood events through social media and a public safety app called FloodSpot. The app is available to download on your smart device. And it's important to remember that while flash flooding has the greatest chance of occurring from July to September, any heavy rains in Clark County at any time can lead to flooding. The next Green Up will be held in the spring, but in the meantime, you can help keep stormwater clean by picking up after your dog and cleaning up trash around your home. That's going to do it for this edition of the Flood Channel. You can find more information about keeping our county clean on our website, www.regionalflood.org. You can also find us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and look for our app, FloodSpot, in your app store today.